One. Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 379 for August 12th, 2020. My name is Russell Frost. I have the pleasure to be your host for this week's adventure into advanced tech mobility and sustainable energy. And with me, an incredible panel as always. Let me introduce them and get this show on the road. First, my co-host, our man in the Midwest, who survived a storm that has a name I've never heard, 59 years on this planet, and a storm goes through and they give it a unique name. And I'm not talking about a name like it's a kind of storm.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tony Schaefer.
Like it's oh so common, and I'm like, I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, it was a dish shoots. I forgot it now. What it was.
Or something.
Yeah, just something. And so
I'm not
I
gonna find that
was
keychain.
I was watching TV in my basement, and they were explaining what it was. And of course, the weather people were just geeking out all about this. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Fortunately, all I suffered was I lost power for about 3 hours. I lost internet and television until the next day. Over-the-air antennas for the win. If you don't have an over-the-air antenna, you need to go get one, because if your land or digital television goes out, you just plug in that sucker and you can just keep watching TV. And that's exactly what I did.
Assuming you're within the broadcast area.
Yeah. I mean, assuming, I had the local stuff. So I could still get the weather. See, that's the thing. My cable went out, but I was still able to watch local broadcasts, and I could watch the weather and stuff. When the power went out, the sump pump stopped working. But fortunately, I had recently purchased a sump pump with a battery backup. And so when the power went off, I started watching the battery backup sump pump, which was sitting on the basement floor waiting to be installed.
Uh-oh. Well, you got nothing else to do. You might as well install it.
I know, right? Now's the time to do it because I'm not going anywhere. So procrastination over. It'll be installed this weekend.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, right below him, at least on my screen, I have no idea what
my week in a nutshell.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tony?
No, go on.
Oh, I didn't mean to talk over you. Right below him, at least on my screen, I don't know what you, our fair viewers, are seeing, is producer, director, voice actor. She is Georgia McKenzie.
Hey guys, and I just want to say welcome to the show, and I just want to offer a few shout outs to people who donated to our new computer fundraiser. You guys rock. So we got Bruce Johnson, John Larson, Igor Orlovich. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, by the way. Joseph Northrup, Michael York, Crystal Markley. I was going to say Malarkey, but I knew that wasn't right. Rick Johnson,
Crystal Markley,
Leslie
she
Kemp.
rocks.
Thank you. Leslie Kemp, Chelsea Sexton, Lawrence Fossey, Mark Chieson, and a couple of familiar names, Georgia McKenzie. I had never heard of her before in my life. Matthew Klippenstein. Thanks, you guys. And we need more of you. We could use your help to get that machine, because without it, this little production takes 20,000 years for Russell to do and record on the old machine, and if it dies, we die. So help us live. Donate to the fundraiser. And back to Russell.
Thank you, Georgia. So well said. And so much better said in your voice than mine. Speaking of a man with a battery backup, he's our man in the Mid-Atlantic, the king of the supercharger, and now he has his own personal power wall.
Yeah, right on set. Got a power wall
like
brain called the Energy Gateway, and then the power wall. What? Is it like a what?
Wonderwall.
A Wonderwall.
It will allow me to play Wonderwall while the power is out. Yes.
There you go.
So once we get into permanent housing, we'll be hooking that up, and then we won't need to worry about our battery backup on our sump pump. Although I will probably also get one for the sump pump because, yeah, water.
I got nothing. Beneath him on my screen is our friend in the Pacific Northwest, Mr. Patrick Connor.
Hello. Yeah, speaking of Powerwalls, I just got a text message today that mine is in the permit process. So hopefully soon I will have some Powerwalls on the side of my house. And
Nice.
I have no idea what a sump pump is, but if I had one, it'd be powered.
You don't have them in
Luckily,
Oregon?
I live in a part of the yeah, I don't have to. I'm on a mountain, so yeah,
you
I'm not in a
probably
flood zone, so I'm okay.
Well, he doesn't live in a mountain, and maybe he lives in a flood zone. I don't know, but he is our friend in the Great Wide North, the host of The Tesla Life, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everyone. And does that mean Patrick's in a dry county?
Hardly.
Nice.
Ooh.
We love our craft beer here, so no dry counties.
Welcome
Nice
to the
little
show,
stuff happens
everyone.
down here.
We've got a ton of news to get to today.
There you go. So let's get started. A couple of, I guess, administrative things. I want to push, promote, hype, whatever you want to say. Did a trip, as you guys knew, a few weeks ago to the BMW Performance Center, where I got some race driver training. I documented that and posted it on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/whatdrivesus. Search BMW, because it's the only BMW thing there, and check out the BMW Performance Center. It was a lot of fun. I had a great instructor who took me on the scariest hot lap I have ever been on. I think he was actually a little scared, to be honest with you. I think he was really like pushing it. I don't know, but got to drive a lot of amazing cars on a closed course. You know, those commercials with like, professional driver, closed course, do not do this. I got to do all that.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So do check it out, the BMW Performance Center review. As well, want to talk a little bit about the RAV4 Prime. We are almost done posting. The rest of them will come up tomorrow. 6. Wait, that's 5. 6. 1 and 5. 6. RAV4 Prime reviews. Okay? 6.
One good, one bad, one medium.
And I'll tell you why. 1 inside, 1 outside, 1 interior, 1 driving, 1 off-road, and
1 underneath.
And 1 underneath. Thank you. I knew I was missing 1. And then there's a 7th that's 30 minutes of just me talking. Now, I have no idea why you'd want to see me talking, but if you do, there's 30 minutes of me talking while driving the RAV4 Prime. I did actually, putting it together, I had to watch it again, and there's some good commentary in there, and there is a little fun moment of me drifting in the Fry's parking lot in the RAV4 Prime.
Fast and not necessarily furious.
Yeah.
Drift.
So I have to cop to something, and I think I put this in the show notes. But I didn't find the traction control button until I turned the car in the next day. So it's hard to drift with traction control, and you can tell that I'm struggling. Yeah, it's but let's be clear. I'm in a RAV4 Prime. Okay, I'm in an electric SUV, or in electric mode, by the way, and I'm wrecking some tires in the abandoned Fry's parking lot, which, by the way, was abandoned and closed, and it's not. I didn't do anything.
It was
Probably
practically a closed course.
Yeah. So all you got to do is go to our channel once again at youtube.com/whatdrivesus. Search RAV4 Prime. You will see a whole bunch of content. We're really excited about the car. I know lots of you out there are excited about it. Thanks for the comments, those of you that have already watched it. But do check it out. And if you like the videos, share them with your friends, please.
So what does Tony's wife think of the car?
I'm sorry?
So what does Tony's wife think of the RAV4 Prime?
I don't know. Has she
I
driven
don't
it?
know. Is it good food? How's the?
What?
Are you eating?
No.
Your wife, you said you were going to get a RAV4 Prime, was what you were looking at before the lockdown.
Right.
Yeah, because you talked
So
about
has she
the Kia
seen the content?
Niro
What
and
do you
how
think?
she liked that one versus the RAV4 Prime. They were both candidates.
She doesn't watch this channel or much of YouTube.
We're not asking
Right,
what you
but
thought of Russell's review. It's just, is it still a candidate car that you guys might possibly get?
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty much the only car she's thinking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
There you go.
So the one thing that I wanted to add based on the comments, I think there was 2, maybe 3 people in the comments that said they've already purchased or reserved it through their local Toyota dealer. All 3 of them paid MSRP or a little bit below.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
So no
That's-
markup.
That's super cool. Yeah, because one of my concerns was that the dealers are going to start jacking them up.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's great. You get the XSE Deluxe, one dude for like out the door for like 33 grand. That's a good deal for that vehicle.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I think
So
sales
it's,
have been pretty soft.
Well, there's that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in
Yeah.
general, car sales are soft.
That's not going to hurt. Yeah.
Well, unless they decide they have to make their month's profit on one vehicle.
You're right. It could go either way. Okay.
right.
Your
Shop
Toyota
around.
RAV4 is $250,000.
Right. But you
You'll
get
be our
75
customer of the month.
you get 7,500 back from the feds. No,
Yeah.
that doesn't. Let's go to our first story, and we go to Mr. Tony Schaefer about a brand new electric brand. Tony, take it away, my friend.
Yeah, so it turns out that Hyundai, tip of the hat to our Canadian listeners, have decided that just like they did with their Genesis brand, if you remember, there was the Hyundai Genesis that was a pretty high end. It was a nice Hyundai, and they spun that off as its own brand to be their luxury arm. Well, they've now taken a name that is already out there and we're familiar with, the Ionic, and they are spinning off the Ionic brand to be their electric arm. And this, of course, cues up the song "Isn't It Ionic," which you'll know based on whether or not it plugs in. Right. So their goal is they already have slated 3 different vehicles under the Ionic badge. The first one is, they're calling it the Ionic 5, and they're expecting this to come out next year. And they say it's based on the Hyundai 45 concept, which is sort of a retro looking nod to Hyundai being 45 years old. And
so it's not any presidential person. It's not bright orange or.
No, it only
That one did
only
have
comes in
orange on it.
Dorito and Cheeto orange. It has a sunroof, but it's fake, and goes off to one side a lot. They make a lot of promises, but it's mostly lies and insults. Anyway, getting back to the article. They are coming out with another one, the Ionic 5, in 2022, and then the Ionic 6. Or the Ionic 5 is the first one, the Ionic 6 in 2022, and then the Ionic 7 in 2024, which they say is going to be an SUV. Personally, I think they need to work on their names if they're simply going to call it the 5, 6, and 7.
Maybe they've laid off their entire marketing department, and that's all they could come up with.
Yes, this is what happens when they all work from home.
Right? They do tend to do that. So
Yeah.
this is probably an executive decision.
That's horrible.
The way to remember them, though, is that the odd numbers are SUVs and the even numbers are cars.
Well, that's clear.
Sort of.
If they
Oh, is
stick
that the
to
picture?
Yeah, if they stick to it, they rarely.
It's a
these car companies rarely do.
Cybertruck.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. This is the
Cyber
45.
crossover, Russell. Come on.
Oh, I'm sorry, cyber crossover. It's a
Cybercross.
gigafactory.
A little small for a gigafactory.
That
It's
is.
like it's just
But-
come out of the Tron 3, like it's a
Yeah,
Tron
that-
3
that-
concept
that-
sketch.
Yeah,
So
And,
they like
you
they like
know
the
it's
Audi.
going to get you know it's going to get smoothed out. It's going to get side view mirrors and door handles. Yeah,
Swinging
No.
doors.
Oh,
yeah, no
God,
real
no.
doors. Yeah, no real car opens like that. But I honestly, I kind of hope that they do stick with this a little. It is a little edgy, maybe if they smooth it out a little, but I kind of like the look.
The
Just
ring
thinking,
door
I
concept.
like this.
I'm sorry, George.
It looks like a Cylon head. I'm sorry.
No, totally.
Yeah, minivan doors on a car. Interesting idea.
It
That'll go
is
over
an
well.
interesting idea. I mean, I don't know how well it works or how expensive it is, but the idea that you don't have a door that swings open is
Yeah, I did two things about that for me. One is inclement weather. Anytime the door opens and makes a hole that big, I think rain and snow
Mhm.
every time I see that. And two, it's not a question of how much it costs. It's a question of how much it costs to fix.
Yeah.
Good
Well,
point.
my car loses half of the side when I open certain doors. It does all right. But what that reminded me of actually were the Toyota wheelchair concept vehicles.
That would be
There,
pretty
yes, there are
accessible.
certain, yeah, of course the ADA, and there are certain needs for certain things. But
Yeah.
I'm not, these and the gull wing doors and doors that swing open and everything.
Doors that go
I
like
just
this, not like
always
this.
think I've been in too many rainstorms and trying to get in and out and trying to minimize the opening, and to have something open that much when it's raining just seems like a bad idea to me.
Well, at least mine turned into umbrellas.
there you go.
But so what it reminded me of was the Audi concepts for the e-tron SUV.
Well, I want to step back and just talk about the bigger idea here of they're spinning out an electric brand. And I really like that idea because it separates, it's Ionic or it's Hyundai. And you're going to know just from the badging whether or not it's an electric car. And I hope that gets rid of some of the, if you go to an Ionic dealership, we've seen this over and over. People go to a car dealership and they try to sell them whatever's on spiff that month. And it's usually not the car that the person came there for. Or the salesperson's like, oh, you don't want one of those. And it's really just because the sales guy doesn't know anything about that. Or just isn't a fan of EVs because he's a car guy and works at a car dealership. So I really hope that this helps with a lot of those dealership issues.
Yeah,
That's a
and then
great point.
you've got Ionic, you've got Polestar, you've got Hummer.
Although
Tesla.
Polestar, I mean, now they're making electric cars, but they
Yeah.
had gas versions before, right?
They did.
For a long
They
time,
did.
yeah. It's not
They were
like
also
they spun
plugins
it out
too.
new.
Yeah. And then who else did some? But it's like you said, it helps to mental bookmark. All right, that's the electric one.
Yeah, and it also means they're not going to do the thing where like, oh, we're going to release a gas version and a plug-in hybrid version and an electric version, and they've all compromised in some way. If this is dedicated to EVs, I think that will help with their efficiency and range as well.
Yeah, and it'll also prevent them from pulling a Mazda. And that was from Mark as well.
The bait and switch.
The
Yeah.
bait and switch. Yeah, this is an electric car with a tiny battery because we're trying to save costs on batteries and customers don't need them and blah, blah. Oh, it's actually a gas car.
Yeah, that was BS, Mazda.
Mhm.
Yeah, they are going to have to figure out what to do with the actual existing Ionic brand, which, if you remember, they do have an electric and a plug-in version.
Yeah, but they're all at least hybrids.
You're right, but the name, what I'm saying is that the name is already in use. The
Mhm.
Hyundai Ionic.
Yeah.
Now
Right.
they're going to have Ionic 5, 6, and 7.
Mhm.
So they might, and I'm thinking they might phase out the Hyundai Ionic, and then
Just
that
move it
would
over.
end, and then all the Ionics at that point would just be Ionics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like they did with the Genesis. It makes sense. And it's a brand or a name they've already got cleared. It's gone through all the trademark issues. So that's one easy way to do that.
Yeah, the auto industry is experienced with doing this already. Polestar did it. Every new car does this. Like the Nissan Pathfinder was actually the Armada was actually the Nissan Pathfinder Armada. The Honda Crosstour was the Honda Accord Crosstour, and then they just dropped the familiar name and they've got it.
Cool.
The only ones that stink are, like you said, the transitional cars. Like, oh, I've got this. Oh, you mean it's electric? No, it's gas hybrid only, no plug.
Well, there you go. It is, Patrick, I think that's a really good point in that it's a nice move for them to create a standalone electric brand. That's a good sign. We want more of that.
Right. They're not going to be compliance, I hope. If they're putting that marketing oomph behind it, that should indicate a significant effort on their part.
Yeah. I mean,
And by marketing oomph, you mean calling it 5, 6, and 7?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. All right. I just hope they come out with 9. I just hope they come out with 9 total models so that the one would be 7 of 9.
Oh,
I'm just going to let that
Tertiary
sit there.
adjunct of Unimatrix.
Yeah.
yeah.
okay, I got to stop this.
Stop it,
Cut it out.
Nerd.
Make it stop.
Make it stop, please. Let's go for our next story to Georgia, who has some news about a possible green future.
Well, yeah. Basically, we're going to take a step back, and in this article from Green Tech Media, what we're doing is we're looking at the lessons that we learned from the 2009 Green Stimulus Bill, the ARA Act, which is American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, which offered $90 billion for sustainable energy projects. And it's still being doled out right now. So there were some losses, of course. There's always going to be losses. A big one was Tonopah Energy, and that was something called a concentrated solar power project, because it was supposedly the best technology at the time with the hope to store energy and through thermal batteries. But it's gotten so much cheaper now to do solar that a lot of those kinds of projects, they've gone by the wayside because the technology outstripped them. So what we're learning right here and right now is we're looking at ways in which Green New Deal projects can use those lessons learned to create much better solar energy and onshore wind and utility scale projects with funding. So we're looking at all the ways that we can add to it that would benefit us, such as energy tax credits for renewables, limited partnerships. So it's a good thing. And it just means that for everybody who's trying, like we are with our cars, to move towards a sustainable future, that we're probably going to pick up where we left off that we kind of stopped doing right now and move towards increasing our investment into better technology and better methods to improving our grids, and hopefully reinvesting right here into not just making the energy source projects like solar, but maybe even manufacturing the equipment we need for these projects here in America, which will of course lead to more jobs right here in America.
Sure. So that storage project, the one that went bankrupt, was that molten salt situation?
The molten salt situation.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was one of the.
Yeah, it's Tonopah.
Tonopah Solar Energy. Yes,
Yeah.
and they did do 110 megawatt concentrated solar power using molten salt.
Was that one of the Bill Gates ones where he's like over concentrated versus photovoltaic?
I don't know about that. I don't think Bill Gates had anything to do with this. This was
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he was really into
project.
one of them without didn't like photovoltaic.
Yeah.
He didn't like electric cars until he got his Porsche.
But I think one of the funny things is that people are going to look at the losses, but they've actually managed to earn something like $3.1 billion back in interest payments. And the projected and actual losses are only $1 billion. This is actually a reasonably good return for new technology development. And we're still offering out that money right now. So people think that we just hand it out at one point right there, like once that money is taken in by the government and dedicated to a certain cause, that okay, we take it and the next day we hand out $90 million. Actually, a lot of people have to file their paperwork and put together all the requests for funding, and you're talking years sometimes to get that money in their hands, unless they know people who can speed up that process. So we're still handing out money, and this failure of Tonopah is actually pretty recent. It's just, I think in the article they say this year,
Yeah.
that bankruptcy. Yeah, so that's this year. Now, funding for that project, that act passed in 2009 under George W. Bush, and it started to be enacted in Obama's term. So that's how long ago is that? That's 11 years for us to finally have a bankruptcy from Tata. And of course, the technology is outstripping the people that developed those initial projects. Unsurprising.
Yeah,
We've
and
seen that with semiconductors.
Yeah,
Semiconductors, they just get cheaper faster.
Yeah, so again, looking at the big view here, Georgia, I think this is exactly right. We have the technology to really make things a whole lot better, but what we don't have is the political will. So, okay, let's look at past successes. How were those accomplished, and what can we learn from those to get new initiatives today to help make a world where we have clean air and clean water? That's great. That's exactly what we should be looking at, how to get the political will in place.
I think the other thing that this presents an opportunity for us, how's the ultimate silver lining guy? Because everybody thinks of me as Mr. Positive.
That's the funniest joke today.
I knew I'd get that reaction. I'm fine with it. Is that, look, we need to get out of the mindset that everything the government's involved with has to turn a profit. In some cases, the government invests our money into things that benefit us as a society. And that's okay. Whether it's a post office that offers postal service to literally every address in the country, which nobody else does, or if it's clean energy projects, which may not turn an immediate profit, may not turn a profit at all, but allows us to develop and deploy better technologies to keep our air and water cleaner.
I mean,
The only thing I'm going to say to add to that is that, one, the post office, without its pension funding, Michigas, would actually be a profitable separate business, because the post office, without that, not only turned a massive profit, but was self-sustaining and self-funding. But the other thing is, I think a big lesson that I didn't see throughout the article, we should maybe speed up the application process. So hopefully we don't get outstripped by technological developments just because it's taking so much time to get the funding together and organize itself to build the project. Because I really do feel that maybe with the examples given, if it's something as simple that the thermal storage just got outstripped, so that by the time it was up and running, the technology had already improved to the point where they were headed towards a level of either, if not redundancy, then outright, unnecessary, then maybe what we need to do is speed up our development process, and so that these manufacturers, these projects can get started much quicker and get that money into their hands sooner. And seconding 100% what Russell said, because our biggest problem is the idea that we're supposed to run government like a business. We actually do benefit. We benefit far beyond cash and money, because a stable society is one that is not facing governmental turnover through violence. It's not facing disease. It's not facing food shortages. Those create a very unstable society. And it's one of the dumbest things of American capitalism, is that they don't seem to get that a basic amount of socialism allows you to have your wonderful free market capitalism safely. If you take away all other options, well, you know what? You kind of let people know that, what do they got to lose by overthrowing you?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Because, I mean, every billionaire in the country, their businesses, their products are delivered on public roads. Their employees, a lot of them were educated in public schools. They have safety and security because of police and fire departments. A lot of this public funding is definitely a huge part of any business's success. And
clean water and food.
Exactly. Yeah. Secure and healthy employees. Yeah.
So it's okay to invest money that we don't get an immediate profitable return on.
right.
That's what I was going to say.
There we go. Well, up next is our man, Mark Coughlin, with This Week in Tesla. Mark, what's up with Tesla this week?
Roll the segment music.
Wow, that's how putting
Wow.
pressure on
Where
me.
did that, man, talk about just calling him out. Terrible.
I don't.
Terrible.
I got to get that segment music. I'm sorry. I'll work on that for next week. My bad.
That's it. Next time I'm playing Chelsea Dagger.
Well, I'll get into this so we don't have to listen to that. But God, this week in Tesla, we've got a ton of news. We're going to keep it short, though. Top 4 stories. This week, of course, number 1 story happened this week was the 5-to-1 stock split that happened, that was announced. Hasn't happened yet. It's going to take about a week and a half. But anyone with a single share of Tesla in about a week and a half, it's going to be worth 5 shares. So they're doing the split, and certainly it's something that makes sense to a lot of investors. People can get in at a theoretically lower price, although there is some options to buy percentage stocks or fraction stocks. But this is a move that certainly the stock market liked, because there was another boost in Tesla stock just today from the announcement yesterday. Also, a German court finds that they don't like the windshield wiper control on the Model 3. There was an article of someone crashing their car because they were fiddling with the windshield wiper control on the center screen. And this German court looked at some evidence and some previous evidence and indicated that this center screen is an electronic device, and a driver should not be playing with it at all during driving. So, of course, Tesla's going to have to look at some maybe software solutions to add the functionality of windshield wiper control to the stock, maybe to the spinny wheels on the steering wheel, or possibly voice control, or maybe a combination of all. These are things that they may have to address for Germany specifically. Speaking of some other regulators, Hong Kong regulators, for some reason, decided that the arcade access in the Tesla car was endangering people, so they had to take it away. So you no longer have the arcade games available to you in Hong Kong. I have no idea why. The article doesn't explain their reasoning as to why, when the car's in park and is not going anywhere, that someone can't use the arcade games that are loaded in the car. Again, kind of perplexing. I would say that Hong Kong wins the award for the silliest regulators so far. They get the gold medal on this one, but it's interesting to see that that people are watching this kind of stuff, and there are different countries that are looking at what Tesla's offering, and they're coming up with different things to complain about. It's
yeah. If you're in Hong Kong, go change your Wi-Fi password so your car doesn't get an update.
yeah, it's
Do not take Patrick's
kind of weird
as legal advice.
Do not change your Wi-Fi. Do not.
They find that 25% of the cars don't have the update, and then the government forces the update over cellular.
And our final story of the week for Tesla, top 4, I guess, is that Tesla seems to be a little bit too much successful in South Korea. Because what happened recently, they've had record sales in South Korea. In fact, they've sold over 50% of all EVs in the last month were Tesla cars. But they've been so successful that the South Korean government is looking at how much money is going in the subsidy going towards a Tesla vehicle compared to other South Korean EVs, that they're considering changing the rules on the subsidy to cut Tesla out. Now, the one thing that we mentioned on the Tesla Life and talked a little bit about is that this subsidy is not going to Tesla. This subsidy is going to the person that purchased the car. A South Korean resident is getting the subsidy. And of course, that allows them to spend that money at other local things in their country. So it is kind of perplexing that people, when weighing what EV is best for them, what car gives them what features, what do they feel is important to them, they're being cut out of it because they didn't buy a South Korean made car. They bought an American car. And that's just wrong. The market should dictate what those vehicles, how they're sold, because people are looking and weighing what are the pros and cons of the vehicle. What's the best bang for my money? What do I feel is important to me when I'm buying a car? And I hope South Korea doesn't go ahead with this, but the legislation there, legislature is thinking about this possible change. So we hope that won't happen. But if you would like some more details on these stories and others, please join us on the Tesla Life. Number 161 is in the can and available for you on YouTube today.
Nice job, Mark. Well done. And definitely go to the Tesla Life to get the details and the discussion on each of these stories. And you can follow them at the Tesla Life on Twitter for links and more news and updates. And I don't think they have any frunk puppies, but
no, we're fresh out of frunk puppies.
I'm actually really cool with that. I love puppies.
Cool.
But
we like them.
We like puppies. We don't like.
You forgot to open the frunk, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't want to put my dog in anybody's frunk. It's just anyway.
Don't
Thank
close
you so
the
much
link.
for that, Mark. Do check out the Tesla Life for more exciting Tesla news. Next up, we're going to go to Tony, who has something going on in the land of my birth, California.
So this is not, EV, alternative fuel, advanced technology, but something we've talked about many times in the past, and it's the changing face of transportation and mass transportation. And specifically, this is about Uber and Lyft. And we've been kind of dogging on Uber and Lyft in the way that they treat their contractors. And so a court in California has declared that Uber and Lyft can no longer refer to their drivers as contractors, that they have to be full-time employees or even part-time employees, but they have to be labeled as employees and not just contractors. Of course, Uber and Lyft are fighting this because the huge difference between contractors and employees, of course, is that employees come with benefits, and especially in California, whereas if someone's a contractor, they're pretty much on their own and the company doesn't owe them anything except some pittance for what they do. And we've already gone on many, many times on this show about how hard some of these drivers have to work in order to earn just a little bit of anything. And I think Casey knows this, in person, having been an Uber, right? You drove Uber?
Yep, Uber, Lyft.
Yeah. So, of course, I'm reading a Barron's article here, and they reached out to Uber and Lyft, and they both said things like, this is preposterous, and they don't want to be employees. They want to be contractors, and they don't want the things that come with being an employee. Okay, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, like we've said many times on this show, is these companies get rich and rich and rich by exploiting other people's work. And you see the same thing with DoorDash and stuff, where people are just busting their ass to do their work, and they end up with, just a little bit, a percentage of something. And Casey, I figure you would be the perfect person to chime in on. What are your thoughts on the reclassification?
Well, part of it, they also would then be required to do your tax withholding as well. But their platform is perfectly set up to allow you to be an employee that still makes your own schedule. Just hit the button and then just track the time, track the miles, all that still. And then now you got to send it off to accounting. It's one more step, but it's already going to accounting anyway to bill the customer and to pay your contractor. But the ability to have sick days and vacation days, they probably don't want anything to do with that. But in the Southeast, you can have no unions, no sick days, and they can find ways around all this. It's obviously depending on the state that they're operating in, as far as what the bare minimum is. But
right, but this is a California state. It's not nationwide, so this is just in California. Yeah.
Right. But do you think it could be precedent? Do you think that they fear that this could be precedent, that could, employees can unionize, but contractors can't?
They'll certainly fight it wherever it comes up. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're going to fight it everywhere. But I mean, the disadvantage isn't that great. And then then the customers are more likely to not jump to a fresh competitor as they come up, because they know that, all right, these people are being treated fairly, maybe not great, but fairly, and so their conscience is clear. But if they see that this fails, and then another competitor pops up that has the coverage area they need and good price and treats the employees as employees and treats them correctly, they'll jump.
I also wonder if it isn't also the liability question.
Mhm.
Like, would they be more liable for accidents? Would they be liable for wear and tear on your personal vehicle? There's a whole can of worms that's going to open up. And I know some aspects of AB5 affected screenwriter and TV writing freelancers, because it kind of all got put together as a blanket approach to these contracts. So I think that the AB5, although I think it's very well intentioned, and I too have a lot of issues with Lyft and Uber and how it treats these contractors. And especially DoorDash, for whom, if you don't know, a lot of times DoorDash is a pittance if anything goes back to the restaurants, a pittance. Yep. So I have a lot of problems with the gig economy jobs market, but I think AB5 was written a little broadly for what it needed to be to control. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch how this folds out, because we're headed towards gig economy, no full-time, no permanent kind of positions. We've been headed there for a long time. And it's going to be one of those questions that's going to be asked about things like UBI and how do we structure basic living stipends, and along with this kind of weird gigish approach to employment. We'll see.
Yeah, and that's going to keep coming up, because, like you said, it's not just the business structure that's evolving for that. It's also, we've got AI coming in, sports are finding that their columns are, if it's just a basic sports column, it's half the time now written by a computer. But you still have to treat your people like people. I mean, how can you have companies like Walmart, like Uber, like Lyft, that have employees that are working full time that are also on food stamp? You should be able to have the basic minimum wage that sustains life, and the basic conditions. If you have to go to the doctor, that shouldn't kill your income for the week because you had to take a day off to go to the doctor.
Well, for a lot of companies, they think employees are actually a liability. Mm-hmm. They are treated like an unfortunate necessity as part of the business. And I always remind people, if you go back and you watch Resident Evil, zombies were created to have a workforce that was tireless, didn't need benefits, didn't need pay, and didn't need to be fed. Yep. And it's pretty typical of companies.
There's a reason a lot of people, we're not going to put them into one group, which we'll paint with a broad brush. Let's just say a lot of people don't like California, because California tends to lead on a lot of progressive causes, whether it's emissions or labor law. We're in that will employment state, but this is a step in the right direction. If your business model doesn't allow you to pay taxes or to treat your people well, if it's basically just there to sponge money off of existing small business and employees, or contractors, then really it's a shitty business model. I know people who've driven for Uber and Lyft and have done Uber Eats and DoorDash. And I want to tell you, all of them are super hardworking people, and not a single one of them made very much money.
Yep. They start you off.
Have to.
Yeah, exactly. They start you off with the promise of big wages. Uber Black, it used to be a private limo service, and now it's Uber Line, Uber Pool, where it's like $2 a ride, and you share it with 3 different people during normal time.
But if they're not paying their drivers, why don't the drivers just stop doing that and go to?
Because now the driver is hooked. They bought this car because they were making money, they could afford it, and now they have the car payment and the house payment, and they can't get out.
Yeah.
Patrick, money is.
In fact,
they've
even got like a little program where you can get a new car that and for a lot of people, especially in California, public transportation is not an easy thing to do. Especially if you have any desire to get anywhere or do anything. Because if you have to be at one part of SAC, you live there and you want to get to school and you have a kid or any responsibilities, you need a car. And you sign up for Lyft or Uber because you can get a deal on a car, and they tell you these numbers that you can earn, and you're going to earn money, and portion of your car payment will be paid for by doing it, and you sign on the dotted line, and suddenly you don't get to opt out because you've got to do this job. You need the money that's coming in to pay for the car. You need to get to A to Z in an easy fashion. And it is literally, I sold my soul to the company store, but now with fancy watches and smartphones.
It's I'll just speak to the people I know directly. I won't make generalizations. In most cases, they're not the primary earner in the house. A lot of cases, they had a car, so it's not like somebody went out and bought a brand new car and they're trying to make the payments. Although that definitely a lot of people did that, bought cars, especially electric cars and hybrids, hoping that this was going to be a profit center for them. A lot of them are working a lot of hours a week and not bringing very much home. Now, is that the difference between something and nothing? Yeah, in a lot of cases it is. Could they do better if they just got a real job somewhere? Maybe, but there's not a lot of those either.
Yeah, so if this is just a side hustle for you, you do it a couple hours in the evening, 6 hours on the weekend, then it's not a big deal. But if it's your primary source of income, it certainly is a big deal.
Yeah. When I started I had the Volts, and that did well. And then I ended up with the first Tesla, and that one counted as a premium car, so we got a premium rate. And then I went ahead and got the next car, and that one counted as a larger premium luxury car. And shortly after I got it, they cut the rates, and my wife didn't have a job anymore. So now that was replacing her job, and so that kind of left me on the treadmill until we got the offer for the first position up here, and then we moved.
Yeah,
that was to replace it.
I don't know that describing it maybe in many cases a side hustle, as it were.
It was, yeah.
But I know, like, one friend of mine has a full-time job, and she does this in addition to that because, hey, guess what? It's expensive to live here.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is something she can do in conjunction with her full-time job that helps make the nut every month.
Yep, it's a flexible schedule. It's just that they keep cutting the rates.
Yeah, I mean, this is the classic sort of VC bait and switch. Get into the market, get everybody into it, and then hopefully
early on they could pay well because it was all VC subsidized.
Right, and none of these companies have ever made fucking money. Not one of them. What does that tell you?
It's not sustainable.
Yeah, not sustainable. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Did I pound on the desk?
Yes.
So let me continue to argue on their side, just to have you guys shoot it down. When I sell something on eBay, eBay is matching buyer and seller. I'm not an eBay employee if I'm a seller. And if I'm a contractor, a plumber, or whatever, and I go on Angie's List and that gets me connected to a job, I'm not an Angie's List employee. And the Uber and Lyft, their argument is we're a platform that we connect drivers to people who want rides, and we're the platform. We're not the taxi service.
Yeah, so they sell themselves. They sell themselves as that, but if you skip too many rides, they kick you off the platform.
Right. When you sell something on eBay, Patrick, does eBay determine the price, or do you?
The auction. Well, I guess you do, or the auction does, whichever you pick.
You decide what you're willing to sell it for. And in this case, Uber is setting the price.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very good point.
There's also another point that you should understand. They tell you what quality car you should have. What it should look like. They give you a set of guidelines for how you should be dressed, and also, suggested things to have in there. So they set the terms of how you should work, and you must work your shift. And as Casey said, if you cut out your shift, then after a while, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get any of that. So if they
that
can
sure
do
sounds
that,
like something an employer does.
Yeah.
Hey, ding ding.
There you go.
I'll take another step back. Ride sharing apps are good, could be good. Taxi service sucked. Taxis sucked. They were expensive. They were horrible. They were hard to find. And especially if you didn't live in a dense urban area, maybe they were impossible to find. Maybe you waited hours for one, or you had to call a super shuttle or something 2 weeks in advance. So there's definitely positive aspects to ride sharing. The problem is from the beginning, it's not been priced realistically, and the employees, the contractors, haven't been treated the way they should be treated. If we'd done this right, it would be an unalloyed good thing. I think the problem is we kind of tried to do it badly. That's all I got.
All
So
right.
let's go to the next story.
Move on.
So I've got a story about more bait and switch.
Go,
Uh-oh.
Casey. Tell us about bait and switch.
So we've all been looking up one of the competition to one of the other alternative options to Tesla's autopilot or full self-driving system, correct? So one of the ones that we all tend to enjoy talking about is GM Supercruise. Did anybody know that this is a subscription service? You don't own it?
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So if you look in the fine print all over the Supercruise website, tiny little letters. After 3 years with the vehicle, you have to start paying for it, or the car stops driving it, though. And one of the things we liked about it was it watches you watch the road, so we know it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to touch the wheel. If once you're in the mode on appropriate roads, you just put your hands down in your lap and watch the road, and it'll tell you if it needs you. Well, 3 years, you're back to driving if you don't pay.
And Cadillac likens it to like the Connect, OnStar or Sirius XM satellite radio, and they're like, well, you get those for 3 years, and if you don't renew it, then those go away. This is a whole different ballgame. This is not XM radio. This is
this is cruise control.
Completely different. Yeah, not the same.
But in effect, what's the difference between that and what Tesla does?
Well, on Tesla right now is they will offer a subscription, but they don't currently. So for the same $5,000 option, after 3 years, if you haven't leased the car, it will keep self-driving.
But you do have to pay extra for that service, whether you are paying for it in maybe a future monthly, or as it is today, you pay it up front when you buy the car.
Right, but you have to pay extra for it today anyway, so it looks like the competition's product that you'll find on Hyundai, Tesla, everybody else, except that there's that hidden subscription fee.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So you're saying like the Tesla, you're paying for it up front. Cadillac is lowering the entry point to the car, but charging you later.
Yeah, because it looks the same. It's like, oh, 5,000, 5,000. Okay, it's the same thing. And
it's
then
an in-app
it's
purchase.
not the same thing. It's like the BMW's in trouble now for selling you renting you heated seats in some countries.
Mm-hmm.
So at
least they're upfront.
You pay $5,000 for Supercruise, and that's only for a 3-year subscription?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I thought that...
Or whatever the actual price is.
If it was included with the car and then
Yeah.
you got it free for some time and then had to pay a subscription, that'd be fine. But
that would be cool.
Paying thousands and then have to pay monthly on top of that? That's
right. Yeah. It would be like if Tesla, without the subscription plan, you bought cruise control and they turned your cruise control off without some sort of legal mandate like we have with
that's
Hong
never
Kong
happened.
and South Korea.
Do you know the price, Casey, that they're charging for it?
Let's find out what they're charging for it while we talk about it.
No, there is no information, which I thought was like, oh, no spokesperson actually had that information. Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, they did that on purpose. They wouldn't let us. They will be on 22 vehicles by 2023, though.
And shout out to Motor Trend here, who in their article reached out to Cadillac, and they said that the like Georgia said, the company spokesperson was unable to share this information. Yep. So how much does it cost? Well, I'm not allowed to tell you. So how much does the subscription cost after 3 years? Well,
We don't know yet.
Is this a
We don't know
subscription
yet.
or a hostage negotiation? Because sounds like pay
It
us
sounds
your
like
money or you don't get your cruise control.
your
At least with
renewal
BMW, you know
letter.
the heated seats are $100 a year.
Yeah. The Cadillac renewal letter comes with letters cut out of magazines.
So if you're paying upfront for the hardware and then the subscription pays for software,
Yeah.
and they're going to keep developing it, they're going to make it better, they're going to improve it over time.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. As
I'm
long
fine
as,
with that.
I mean, if
But
the
they
price
gotta
is
tell you
clear
upfront.
up front, nothing
Yeah.
is hidden from me, and I know what I'm getting into. And then maybe the prices go up, 2% a year or some inflation amount, but they don't just like double it the next year.
Right.
Yeah. So
Who would
if
do
you're
that?
if you're informing the the buyer and they can make their own decision, that's great. If you're doing some kind of bait and switch, or we don't know what the price will be, good luck with that. We hope you can afford it because you bought a Cadillac, you probably have money. That's the problem.
But if, okay, I'm with you halfway there, Patrick, maybe 75%, because you had said that they're constantly working on it, they're improving it, and this and this and this. Well, back in the day of disk-driven navigation systems, you got a car, and I guess now a lot of them have them on the SD cards and whatever.
Yeah.
You buy a car and it has the disk or it has the SD card, and that's the one you have, unless you buy a new one.
Right, and they were
So-
hundreds of dollars to upgrade your nav
And-
system.
Right.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But so if in this case, if their self-drive system kept working, but the subscription was for improvements, I would
Yeah.
agree with you. But the fact that they fully take it away,
Yeah.
to me, is a kick in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, because we all hear that story about the guy who went up the closed on ramp, or the lady who drove off a cliff, or whatever. They chose to do that, and here, the car is still watching for conditions to change. So if the road no longer matches, then that road is gone. But say I-5 doesn't move. Well, sorry, the I-5. You can keep driving it, but that's not the case here.
Yeah, I know
And
in
then they
my,
hide it. If they didn't hide it, if they said up front, hey,
Yeah.
in 3 years it's going to cost $100 a month, or we don't know what the price is yet, but you're going to have to pay in 3 years, that's fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
for the
I
last
got-
5 years.
I would hope that they would inform you up front. If you ask about the option, is this, what do I get with the car? You get this, it gives you the capability of that, and you will have subscription free after 3 years. If they let you know that information up front, then it's consumer can make an intelligent decision. But if that information is hidden on purchase, then that's a problem. But then again, you also know that a lot of consumers don't bother looking at any of the information that's given to them. They're looking at the car, they're looking at the color, they're looking at the softness of the seats, and they're sold. That's it. That's all they wanted to know. But if the information is readily available, then I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be a fine print either, because literally they're selling it as Supercruise. Oh, okay, I'm getting next level cruise control. I paid $3,000 for this option to get better cruise control. I'm good for life.
How is
hold
this
on.
different from full self-driving? I'm just
Because full self-driving, it's $7,000, and they
Right.
tell you there's no price on the updates. You buy it, you got it. If you buy the subscription, which doesn't
but
exist
nobody
yet,
has it.
right?
Okay.
Right. So
So in one
with
case, Cadillac's
self-driving-
selling something that exists, and they charge you for it later on down the road. The other company's selling something that doesn't exist yet, but will exist at some point in the future.
Right. So right now
Two
Today's
wrongs
category
don't make a right,
is
Russell. They can
vaporware.
both be wrong.
Right. No,
but
no.
the-
I'm totally with you there.
Yeah,
on
okay.
that.
But they're completely upfront on what you're getting. So when you buy the full self-driving package, what you get in it is you get the ability for the car to unpark itself, to repark
Right.
itself,
I-
to change lanes, and then eventually in the future sometime it will get the however what level they consider that they can technically get away with being full self-driving, but still calling it full self-driving.
So through the magic of Google, I
Yeah.
found that if you buy the $3,100 driver assist package,
That's what it was. Yeah.
you can then pay $2,500 extra because Supercruise is a standalone option.
Yeah.
So you have to have this driver assist package for Supercruise to work.
Yep.
If you pay the $2,500, you can do that. Now, as Motor Trend found out, I can't find it anywhere, and this is a pretty quick search, obviously, but nobody's talking about how much it costs down the line. I'm sure at some point, some Cadillac owner is going to go, oh yeah, GM tried to nick me X dollars for it, and then we'll
Yes.
find out. But
Yeah, because they've been talking about this thing for what, 4 years now, 3 years now, and just now anybody in the press or as an owner has just now figured out this thing has a subscription fee.
Right.
that's just crap.
And, yeah, and to Mark's point about, it needs to be made readily available, and the consumer needs to know what they're getting into. And, like Mark, you had said, if the customer asks, how much is this, it needs to be on it needs to be offered up. Because you can't wait for the customer to ask about something they don't know. I mean, that's a pretty backhanded sort of thing. Well, if they ask about this thing that they don't know about, then we'll tell them. But of course, they'll never ask. So
Yeah, because Consumer Reports and all the other places you would go, the knowledgeable sources, they didn't know because when they talked with and interviewed, the company never offered it up. Well, because they didn't ask us. Well, if these professionals didn't ask you, how the hell is this consumer supposed to know?
So now it's the consumer's responsibility to ask about every single conceivable thing and even the things that you can't conceive.
Will this left blinker have a subscription fee in the future?
Right. Do I have to buy windshield wiper fluid from you at $75 a gallon?
Blinker
What about the
blinker
right
fluid.
blinker? Does that one?
I mean,
What do you mean? I need
say
GM
that-
specific windshield wiper fluid? I can't just go to the gas station.
Right. No, I say that, and it's ridiculous, but look at what's happened with printer cartridges on computer printers.
Yeah.
If you don't buy the chipped printer ink, you're screwed.
Yeah, but they put it in the box. Hey, you need to buy it from us or risk damage to your equipment. They don't say that they won't
How
work at all,
nice.
but
Yeah.
they warn
No,
you.
fair enough. Disclosure's cool, but disclosing that you're fucking somebody. Oh, did I say it out loud? I'm sorry. Disclosing that you're screwing your customers isn't cool.
Right. But hiding it and then doing it anyway, that's even worse.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. You know what? I should be able to search how much is a Supercruise subscription on the internet and get an answer.
Yeah,
That-
even if they say it
Cadillac's
varies by
official
region,
website.
Yes,
it should be on their website, absolutely.
it should be
Your
everywhere.
spokesperson should be able to tell you when asked by the press.
Yeah, the idea that GM's playing a game like that is complete and total bullshit.
Yeah, so when I go to get the Toyota Smart Drive or the Hyundai, they're not going to, hopefully not. Now we need to ask, but at this point, it appears that their stuff is going to be more like the Tesla stuff, where once you paid up for the extra opt-in and the ability for it to do the thing, you got to rely. But now we got to ask them too, hey, how much is my Toyota self-drive? How much is, or not self-drive, but the lane keep assist, whatever. And same for Hyundai. And the rest, BMW, all that.
Yeah, this is a bigger deal, but it reminds me of when I had the Nissan Leaf. After having it for a few years, the app stopped working. And it turns out that it had, the car that I bought had 2G in it. And this is when 4G LTE was the latest. Like, why would they have put 2G
It should have
in
been
here?
under 3G.
When 4G is the latest, you should put in at least one gen back if you want to go cheaper. But they put in 2G, really? And so then I could pay to get the modem upgraded to 3G. And this is as 4G is already, like 5G starting its initial rollout. And I'm like, my only option is 3G. So we're going to have this same problem again. Forget it. I just won't use the app anymore. I'm done. I'm going to go buy a Tesla.
Ouch.
Yeah. But it does sound like, and I always tend to the Apple versus Microsoft sort of approach. I've had Apple now this is my second Apple computer, and I think I got my first one in 2009. So I'm 11 years with Apple products, and I've never once paid for an update. I've gone from OS to OS and upgrade to upgrade, and I've never once paid for an upgrade. But I also have a PC. And I think when I got it, I had like Windows 95, right? And then it was 8, and then something else. And then, I know, right? I'm old. XP, 95. And each of those upgrades came with a price. Right. I had to go out and buy the upgrade. Now, if I didn't want the upgrade or if I wanted to push it off, I could wait.
Yeah.
But the one I had, the operating system I had still worked. It wasn't like they said, it expires in 3 years and we're shutting your PC down unless you pay us money. That is just ransomware.
Yeah. And the other part of it is that look at Cadillac's target market. They are very, on a whole, broad brush, all this, very principled people. So once you then try to screw them, on principle, they might just leave for somebody else who will treat them correctly and give them the luxury experience that you had promised them.
That's what I did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So,
I'm going to leave that there.
Leave it there.
I'm going to
We're
leave
just gonna have
that
to
there.
leave it there.
Right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
We have one more really great story, but it's a discussion. It's a wrestling match, as people might say. And we'll save it for next week because it's
Okay.
cool.
Okay.
So that's it. Let's do some shout outs and go home. I think we did a nice job. Casey, let's start with you.
Oh, okay. So I just did a Supercharger review. I do those sometimes. This one was a new format for me on a brand new gas station that went up that doesn't sell gas. They don't have any pumps. It's a Wawa gas station that just has a convenience store and 8 Tesla Supercharger stations stalls. So you can find that at youtube.com/Casey Green. That's KACEYGREEN. And so what's new about it is I tried a new format a couple of months ago and people enjoyed it. And then I decided to try and make it a little more visually appealing. So let me know what you think and take a look.
Thank you, sir. Definitely visit Casey's site. Check it out.
Thanks.
Mr. Connor, what's new and exciting in your world, sir?
Oh, I don't know, but I need to go check out the gas list station. That sounds like a cool video, Casey.
I like a
so-
Wawa.
Yeah. I write occasionally at carswithcords.net. You can check that out. And I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org. And we have our monthly meeting tomorrow, and it's all online. We're doing it via Zoom. And if you get on the mailing list, you can get the link and the password and all that stuff, and you can figure that out from our website. Thanks.
And do that. And as always, thanks to Patrick for putting our news up. If you read our news on Twitter and Facebook, it's that guy down there that does it. I'm only here for Smartass Remarks, which surprises no one.
No one.
It certainly doesn't surprise someone as smart and discerning as Mark Coughlin. Mr. Coughlin?
Wow. Thank you very much. Well, if you are still watching the show at this point, please give us a thumbs up. It's going to help us. You're supporting the show. We would really appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Free does not get any freer than it is right now. So please click that subscribe and help us out. Support the show with another subscriber, and that helps us get in the eyes of other viewers. So give us a hand. We would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And do follow Mark at The Tesla Life on Twitter and check out more. Georgia McKenzie, the microphone is yours.
Thank you. Well, we already had Mark tell you to please hit like and subscribe. And I'm just going to remind you that we do also have the other show, Transport Treehouse. Take a look at that if you'd like to learn a little bit more. And while you're at it, freedom isn't free. Pay some money into that cash box for our new computer. Just reminding you because that's the way how I am. Give me your money. All right? Y'all have a good week.
Thank you, Georgia. Very, very kind of you. Tony Schaefer, bring us home.
So I don't know where you got this week's show, whether you're watching it on YouTube or you're watching it on whatdrives.us, or if you got it from shoot, I kind of lost
Some
the
guy
list
with a
here,
trench
didn't
coat
I?
in Times Square? Is
Yes.
that-
No.
Hey,
Do
man, you
not-
want to see a good show?
Yes.
That's where
do
I get
not
my
your
podcast
shows
from.
him.
Good show.
Yes. It's where I get a lot of stuff. You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, TuneIn, iTunes, wherever you get it. Do us a favor and subscribe. It is one of the only ways for us to know that people are actually enjoying our shows, or I should say listening to our shows. It's up to you whether or not you're enjoying them. Shoot us a comment. We say that subscribing does us a favor. It does let YouTube know that people are watching the shows. That helps us out a bit. throw a comment our way. I enjoyed the show. I didn't like the show. Russell's full of crap. We already know that, but you know, it's fun to be reminded from time to time. Comments help Google and YouTube promote us a little bit, the analytics. So, I mean, another free way to help us out.
And Russell spends time, and Tony does too, going back in there and responding to comments. I've been all over the comments. So if you ask a question or say something in there, chances are one of us is going to go, shut up and leave us alone.
Yes.
And you wonder why we don't get comments.
Oh, damn, you're right. I mean, we'll probably respond, actually.
And every once in a while, I'll start a comment with Russell here. You're full of crap.
Very nice.
So, yeah, so make sure and subscribe, leave us comments, and do all that kind of stuff. And that way you'll know that you'll never miss a show.
Don't miss a single show.
Not a single one.
We have some, I don't even know, should I say what might be coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Why the hell not?
Teaser?
If you're familiar with YouTube superstar Rich Rebuilds, or Rebuilds Rich, depending on his Twitter handle or his YouTube channel, has said, yes, he's going to come on the show. We don't know if it's going to be next week or the following week, but we're very excited to have Richard on the show. He does some super cool stuff. He's an amazing guy, and we expect a fantastic show with Rich. Looking forward to that coming up soon. Once again, do check out the YouTube channel at youtube.com/whatdrivesus. Do subscribe there if you haven't already. And we appreciate that very much. As always, I want to thank Tony Schaefer, Georgia McKenzie, Mark Coughlin, Patrick Connor, and Casey Green for an incredible show. Thank you so much, everybody. And thanks to all of you for watching and or listening. You're the reason we do this show. Do check out the GoFundMe fundraiser, please. $1 would be fantastic. Just $1. And a whole bunch of you do that, we're there. So we need your help. Please do help. And until next week, you'll have to wait to find out what drives us. I totally changed that. See you next week, everybody. Drive safe.
See ya.